I request Mr. Raman Roy to give the welcome remarks. Mr. Raman Roy is the Regional President of IACC North India, and he is the Managing Director of Quattro, and he is also the former Chairman of NASCOM.
So thank you very much, Mr. Sudhir Kumar Laru. Thank you. Good afternoon, all. May I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this important webinar to discuss the ideal pathways for the Indian dairy sector through innovation and value addition. Those of us in India, I know Mark has logged in from Washington, DC, but a large proportion of the people logged in here are from India. Many of us have heard our Honorable Prime Minister talk about the importance of the dairy sector and the potential that it has to create jobs and livelihoods. So I think it is great to be spending some time on this. Not only spending time, but spending time with experts and practitioners, as I will talk about in a bit. As a prelude, let me place a few facts before you. Coming to the dynamics of the dairy trade with a focus on US and India, the data shows that US is a net exporter of dairy trading with its share in global exports standing at 4.9% as opposed to the import share of 2.8%. This data I have, or what I was able to get, is of 2018. In contrast to this, for the same year, India's share is a minuscule 0.3% in exports and 0.06% in global dairy imports. Again, as I said, this is the data for 2018, and it brings about the glaring distinction between the two countries that Indo-American Chambers represents. According to the World Dairy Situation 2019 report, milk yield per cow in the US is the single highest in the world, standing at 10,500 kgs per cow. I actually read and reread this number and went to reconfirm it, because I know in India we struggle to even get to 2,000 kgs. The data I got for India is it is 1,715 kg per cow compared to 10,500 kg per cow in the US. India's 1,715, despite our white revolution, despite what we do, and despite what the leaders of our industry will talk about what we have here, our per cow yield is the second lowest in the world. And that huge difference in yield compels us to come together and collaborate between the two countries for what can be a mutual win-win, in my opinion. My sense is that if there is a semblance of size, range, and scope of the dairy sectors between our two countries, it would help enhancing the market access of each other's country. I sincerely feel that there should be an agenda which we should chase for strengthening this partnership between the two countries. With that, let me talk about the impressive panel of speakers we have and bring out the capabilities and the knowledge from the two countries that this webinar brings together. I welcome them all to this virtual discussion. I'm sure the meeting would discuss how the partnership between India and US can be strengthened in this vital sector where the two countries have the strengths in their own terms. White revolution in India created hundreds and thousands of jobs and has created livelihood for a lot of people. While out of the US, the productivity and the focus on the distribution has created a market by itself. Admittedly, our two countries have their own wish list for the market access, and through these discussions, we can create sustainable structures to handhold and at the same time bridge the technology and the perception gaps that exist. I'm very happy to note that Mr. Atul Chaturvedi, Secretary, Animal Husbandry, Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India, is with us as the chief guest. Sir, we cordially welcome you to this webinar. The department is laying considerable importance to modernize and innovate the dairy sector. We are also aware of the steps that are being considered to handhold India and the US to promote this sector, which will lead to a win-win situation. Sir, IACC will create erodible structures for continuous dialogue between the two countries to evolve synergies for making the partnership dynamics and at the same time relevant to each other. Importantly, we also have with us Mr. Mark Rosman, Agricultural Attaché, Office of Agricultural Affairs, US Embassy. Mark has joined us from Washington, D.C., and it is about 5:30 a.m. his time. Mark, thank you very much for accommodating the time difference in joining us. He will touch upon in his presentation steps needed for bridging the gap by adopting new technologies from the US in India. And that, I think, will help bridge some sort of a gap. We have also with us Dr. G.S. Rajoria, President of the Indian Dairy Association, Mr. Manish Shah, Executive Director of National Dairy Development Board, Mr. R.S. Sodhi, Managing Director of Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation, Amul. We all have Amul butter and Amul milk. Dr. Lalit Bhasin, who's the Executive Vice President of IACC, and all of them will be addressing you. We also have eminent speakers from within the industry and academics, such as Mr. Jasmohan Singh, Managing Director of Frick India, Mr. P. Sudhir Kumar, also from Frick India, who will give you the theme address, Mr. Manish Bandish, Managing Director of Mother Dairy Fruit and Vegetable Private Limited. Sir, I am a customer. My entire family is a customer for what you sell in Delhi. Mr. Mukul Vashnoi, the Director Corporate Affairs, John Dairy, and Dr. Shalini Sehgal, Associate Professor, Department of Food Technology, Bhaskacharya College of Applied Sciences, University of Delhi. With these words, I welcome you all once again to the webinar and wish everyone great takeaways from this interaction. With that, I hand you back to Sudhir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your welcome address. I would now like to call upon Dr. Lalit Bhasin to give us a few words on this webinar. Dr. Lalit Bhasin has 58 years experience in law practice, and he is the immediate past president of the Bar Association of India and has been awarded by the President of India the National Law Day Award. Thank you, sir. I hand over the mic to you.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhir Kumar. Regional President, Mr. Raman Roy, Chief Guest, Mr. Atul Chaturvedi, our guest of honor, Mr. Mark Rossman of the United States Embassy, Mr. Manish Shah, Executive Director, National Dairy Development Board, and Mr. Manish Bandlish, Managing Director, Mother Dairy Fruit and Vegetable Private Limited, and other eminent speakers and panelists in today's webinar. I think it is a very timely step taken by the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, the NIC leadership. Mr. Raman Roy has always been very active, and as he has been introduced, you see, to you as a former president of NESCOM, But more importantly, Mr. Raman Roy is also considered as the father of the BPO industry in India. He's done he's done pioneering work in this field. But equal to that, Dr. Raman Roy is also the work done by the dairy organizations, and particularly the NDDB and Mother Dairy. We are indeed today privileged to have uh, two very important speakers, that is Mr. Manish Shah and Mr. Manish Banglish, uh, because they will be speaking about, you see, how the dairy development has taken place in India, and more importantly, the need to have cooperation between the United States and India. I have been informed, because I'm a lawyer, I'm not an expert in this, you see, that the dairy sector is important to both the countries. That is why the subject has attracted negotiations between our two countries. Mr. Rossman will clarify on that. In principle, both our countries need market access in each other's country. Yet, there are impediments that come in the way. That is also the reason that our chamber, that is the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, is focusing on this subject so that there is a meeting of minds at every level, whether it is the government level, industry level, academics, and importantly, at the farmers' levels to take the matter forward. The good news is that there is a huge scope for our two countries to work together for mutual advantage. I do not want to dwell on these frontiers of cooperation, as I am a layman. We have experts from India and the United States to flag areas of cooperation, earmark the backward and forward linkages of the dairy sector, and set an agenda to chase in the future. So with these juicy words, I welcome all of you, all the eminent panelists, and particularly our experts like Mr. Manish Shah and Mr. Banglish, to, and of course, Mr. Mark Rossman, to be speaking about the issues that are there, how to create the development of dairy movement, and then how do we encourage mutual cooperation between India and the United States in this very important sector. I hand over now to Sudhir Kumar to take the matter forward for presentation by the other eminent panelists here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to call upon Mr. Jasmohan Singh, Managing Director of Frick India Limited, pioneers in refrigeration industry for dairy industry in India. Mr. Jasmohan Singh is the Executive Council member of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce and is also associated with various trade bodies, and he was the chairman of the Agricultural Subcommittee of CII Northern India.
Sir, sir, at the onset, I'd like to thank you for having me here. I think this is a very important like program. I would like to thank all of you for being here with our chief guest, our guest of honor, Mr. Manish Banglish, Mr. R.S. Sodhi, Mr. Manish Shah, Dr. Shalini Sehgal, Mr. Mukul Vashne, Dr. G.S. Rajodia, President of IDA. I would also like to thank Mr. Roy to have this program I won't like to take up too much time because we have a huge host of very experienced and very experienced like speakers who are deep into the dairy industry. I would just like to set the theme. The theme is that as Dr. Roy said, that we have only 0.6% of the milk trade in the whole of the world, and that has maybe something to do with value addition of milk as well as the milk yield per cow. We also are not using so much cow milk. Like buffalo milk is being used more over here. We would like to see that that there's enough know-how and technology gaps that are identified, if there are any, and how we could get help from the US, which is sitting at probably at the top of the dairy value chain, and we are very thankful that that Mark could be here at 5:30 a.m. and we appreciate that. So I would now leave the floor open to the list of speakers, and because the theme is basic theme would be that how would we improve the value addition in the Indian dairy industry using innovation, and how the buffalo cow milk can also become a global export, much higher global export item than it already is, particularly the milk products that come from the value addition of like the buffalo, which is a support income for a lot of rural-based agriculturists, and anything that we can find here would certainly help the Indian like dairy industry to improve their value addition per liter of milk. So I would just leave it at that, at the theme, and I would thank you all for being here also.
Thank you, Mr. Yusuf. Thank you, Mr. Jaswan Singh. Now I would myself, P. Sudhir Kumar, I would be giving a small speech on the theme of the innovation and value addition in the dairy industry. As you all know, that India is the largest producer of milk globally, and we produce approximately 198 million tons. This is a figure which is up to 2019-20, and we contribute up to 4 to 4.5% of the Indian economy. The dairy industry contributes. The per capita availability of milk is about 407 grams per day. According to the latest reports of IMARC Group, the dairy industry is valued at INR 11,357 billion in 2020. And we have been growing at a compounded annual growth rate of 4 to 4.5%. And value-added products is also having a good growth rate in the driving, and it's driving the dairy market. And the important factor for the dairy market will be the cold chain and supply chain management, which needs, even though a lot of innovation has come, we need to make more innovations in order to avoid the wastage of milk from the farmers to the dairy industry. The innovations which can be done or which are available for doing in dairy industry is devices for tracking the health of the cattle is one area which innovation can happen, and automated milking machines. But even though India has got small farmers, automated milking machines will take some more time, and also online cattle tracking, and also product traceability of customers. And the major thing is also ensuring freshness of milk and store it for a longer period. And e-commerce is also playing a bigger part in marketing the value-added products. The most important aspect comes is the supply chain management and cold chain technology. And Frick India, as well as many companies, have innovated in the dairy field. I would like to say that screw compressors were first introduced in dairy industry for various dairy applications, right from ice cream to milk chilling. And now all the dairy industries are using screw compressors. The efficient use of inverter operated compressors are the day innovation, and advanced heat exchangers and improved insulation. And the major part of innovation in refrigeration field will be in automation. While you automate the refrigeration plant, the energy efficiency of the refrigeration plant will increase. And also dairy industry is embraced natural refrigerants, which is good for the environment. And we are using ammonia and CO2. CO2 can also be used in future. So we are using natural refrigerants in refrigeration industry. With this, I would like to not take much time. Basically, there is a lot of innovation more can be done in the dairy industry, and refrigeration is one industry which is fully versed to support in the value addition market, like either it's being byproducts like cheese, paneer, or even other products like whey protein, etc. So with this, I would like to finish my talk, and we have made a small presentation due to time limitation. This presentation will be circulated to all participants through their email address. Thank you. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Minesh Shah, Executive Director of National Dairy Development Board. He is on the governing board of several important institutions working for dairy and allied activities, and he is also on the board of IDMC, Baroda Dairy, Banas Dairy, etc. He is a member secretary of Indian National Committee of the International Dairy Federation, and also member of Standing Committee on Dairy Policy and Economics of Indian International Dairy Federation. I welcome Mr. Minesh Shah.
Thank you, Sudhirji. Honorable Secretary and Chief Guest of today's webinar, Sri Atul Chaturvediji, Mr. Mark Grossman, Agriculture Attaché with US Embassy, Dr. Razoria, Dr. Sodi, Mr. Raman Roy, Dr. Lalit Basan, Mr. Jasmohan Singh, Mr. Manish Bandlis, MD of Mother Dairy, Mr. Mukul Varsne, and Dr. Shalini Sehgal, and all participants of this webinar. It's a pleasure to be with you in this webinar on innovation and value addition in the Indian dairy industry. As we all know, over the last 5 decades, Indian dairy industry has achieved remarkable growth, and now we are the world's largest milk producing nation with a share of almost 23% of the world milk production. If we see the compounded annual growth rate, it is more than 6% over the last 5 years. And this is due to the relentless efforts put by both Government of India and NDDB in the form of various policies and programs like Operation Flood, the white revaluation you had discussed in the earlier session, the National Dairy Plan, or the ongoing schemes like DIDF and RGM and NPDD. This has led to such achievements And as we all know, dairying in India is not just a business. It's actually a means of livelihood to millions of small milk producers of our country. It's a shining example of nutritional self-reliance achieved through the domestic milk production. Therefore, I think for us at NDDB, it is always our endeavor to bring new knowledge, innovations, new technologies for the betterment of dairy sector, because ultimately it will improve the livelihood and it will lead to better returns for our small milk producers. To make dairying profitable, I think improving the productivity of dairy animals remains the key focus area, as very aptly given in the opening remarks by Mr. Raman Roy. It also needs a special focus on the native breeds of our country. And for genetic improvement of dairy animals, which can lead to better milk productivity, NDDB started with the progeny testing and pedigree selection program for production of high genetic married bulls, which will be used by our semen stations to produce the semen across the country. Then, though as compared to the developed countries, we were slightly late in starting the progeny testing programs. Then came the use of DNA technology in terms of genomic selection, which has changed the way bulls are now selected in developed dairy nations. So this could also accelerate the genetic progress of dairy animals. And to tap that potential of genomic selection, NDDB has already developed now Indus-chip, which is a genomic chip for Indian cattle breeds, and also a buffalo chip for the buffaloes, which is for the first time in the world. And using these chips in large number of recorded females, it will be genotyped to create reference population, which is very large, and we will be able to estimate genomic breeding value of both male and calf, female calf at an early age. So today we have already started selecting bulls on the basis of these chips of various breeds like Holstein, Friesian, Crossbred, Jersey, Deere, or Mura buffaloes, considering the genomic breeding value. And the second technology which I want to discuss about improving the productivity of animal is the in vitro embryo production. It will help to multiply the native cattle at the very faster rate. So NDDB, through its various research and development efforts, our training center is helping to create skilled manpower to scale up this initiative. And understanding the specific significance of this technology, the government of India has now approved the accelerated breed improvement program under the RGM scheme for propagation of high-yielding bovines through transfer of bovine IVF embryos. Government has already made a provision of 5,000 rupees for the farmer, which will be given as incentive under this project. So these are the two areas, I think, where we are actively working with the various research agencies of US, both for the genomic selection program and the embryo production and IVF technology. The another area where we are working together is the sex-sorted semen, and the US firm is already in India, which is helping our country in improving the productivity of animals. So on one hand, we are working for obtaining the faster genomic gains. At the same time, we are also supporting the, some of the interventions for improving the nutrition of animal, because having the genomic potential or genetic potential itself will not lead to productivity enhancement. We'll also have to work on the nutrition side of animal. So crop residues is, I think we all agree, it is a significant portion of the ration of the dairy animals in our country. And we have seen that almost 92 million tons of the surplus crop residues is being buried every year in our country. It's also due to paucity of time and the cost constraints at the farmers level. So under the National Dairy Development Plan, National Dairy Plan, we thought about securing such crop residue from the field, and it can benefit the dairy farmers. And we demonstrated use of several types of mowers and pickup devices among the farmers to secure these crop residues. Another step, furthering this securing the crop residues, which we are now introducing, is the concept of total mix ration. It's the pallet formed cattle feed for the dairy animals. So TMR not only help in improving the milk productivity, but will also incorporate this crop residues to the tune of 15 to 30%, and it will minimize the greenhouse gas emission and try to improve the milk production. So breeding and the nutrition, these are the two major areas where NDDB is working to improve the productivity of animal. The another issue where I think we can work with various research agencies, or we can have collaboration with the US agencies, is the antimicrobial resistance, which is a major concern due to the indiscriminate use of antibiotics to treat the animals. We have started, using our own ethanoveterinary medicines for treatment of dairy animals, which will take care of some of the AMR issue in our country. But I think we'll have to have a definite roadmap to see that the antimicrobial resistance is taken care of. The another area I think where FREAK and other agencies which they are going to talk about for the innovation is the rising energy cost and India's commitment to clean and green India. So I think NDDB has taken various initiatives like concentrated solar thermal technology in the dairy plants, or having solar energy at different levels of dairy value chain, like bulk milk cooler at the village level, or in the entire processing line, wherever possible. If we can have solar PV and solar thermal energy, it is expected that if we can use to its full potential, we can reduce the carbon emissions in the dairy sector at least by 300 metric tons per day of carbon dioxide equivalent. Another major area where now we are focusing is the manure value chain. I think so far we have been only seeing milk as the revenue source for the farmers. From last few years, now we have realized that the dung also can be a major revenue source for the dairy farmers. So we have supported farmers with 2,000 household level biogas plants in almost every state of the country, and it has reduced the carbon emissions. Farmers are using this slurry obtained from the biogas plants on their own farms, and surplus slurry is again aggregated by a cooperative, and it is used for producing the both solid and liquid biofertilizer. So this use of bioslurry and upgraded organic fertilizers, it will lead to reduced requirement of chemical fertilizers. It will also result in improvement in soil fertility and crop productivity. So I think with this, not only the dairy farmers will earn more, but simultaneously we will also reduce the carbon footprint. The another area looking at the current scenario is with respect to the value addition. So changing lifestyles and enhance maybe consumer awareness on the food quality and safety is presenting the opportunity to the organized dairy players in terms of new product development, and thereby augmenting their dairy business. So if consumer can be presented with a food that is ready to use or ready for use with minimal preparation at home, I think it will form a staple component of their diet, and an entirely new domain of opportunities can be unleashed. As it is evident from the products like dahi and chash and paneer, which we have not seen earlier from the organized dairy players. Another area of interest, I think, is the dairyceuticals and functional foods. So the connection of milk to health is traditional in our country, and is also historical. So it's a right time to question, ourselves whether we have adequately explored pathways, for this kind of products, which can offer value proposition in this regard. So byproducts used by different food industry can be another frontier. The creation of infrastructure for manufacture of products like lactose or lactose syrup or whey protein concentrates, milk protein concentrates, or even albumin and globulin, individual whey protein fractions, bovine serum albumin. I think these are some of the products which can be manufactured, innovated from the existing dairy value chain, and it will be necessary for the dairy players to expand their portfolio. As I said earlier, our focus is on improving the quality of life of our dairy farmers, especially the women dairy farmers who are primarily associated with dairy and are playing a significant role. At the same time, taking care of interest of the consumers and addressing the environmental challenges are the other focus area that entity would continue to work upon. We welcome any innovation or value addition which comes during the deliberation of this webinar, which will help us to achieve these goals better. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Minasha, for a wonderful speech. You have thrown open the discussions now for the Mr. Mark to how to help or guide India in various fields. So Mr. Mark will definitely answer to your in areas of interest. Thank you. Next, I would like to call upon Dr. R.S. Sodhi, Managing Director of GCMMF. Dr. Sodhi is the Managing Director and he has got 38 years of experience. He is the force uniting all the farmer unions and collecting more milk and taking Amul to this height. And he is closely worked with with the father of white revolution, Dr. Varghese Kurian. I welcome.
Thank you, Sudhirji, and good afternoon, everybody. Honorable Shri Atul Chaturvedi, Secretary, Animal Husbandry and Dairy, Guest of Honor, Mr. Mark Robinson, Mr. Minesh Shah, Shri Jagmohan Singh Ji, Dr. G.S. Rajoria Ji, and all other participants. It's my privilege that I've been given this task to add our points on this very, very apt and need of the hour topic of innovation, value addition in Indian dairy industry. As far as I go by what you mean by innovation and value addition dairy, I think when you say innovation in dairy industry, to my mind, whole supply chain comes. Milk production, milk procurement, milk transportation, processing, retailing, and brand building. All these are areas where you need to do a lot of innovation. And basically, innovation, I mean, is bringing more transparency in the system, more efficiency, and more sustainability. Then the next part which you are mentioning, value addition, I think value addition is one word which has been interpreted by various people for their benefit or with their perspective. But being a farmer cooperative and a dairy side and looking after whole supply chain, I think value addition is all the measures, including innovation, where you can reduce the gap between the price charged to the consumer and price paid to the producer. If that explains how much value addition you are doing. It is not value addition that you have very fancy packing and do 20-30% margin to retailer and put in e-commerce and other thing and do 8-10 rupees on brand building and you say I have added value addition 100 rupees things I'm selling at 300 rupees, but ultimately farmer is not getting the benefit of value addition or the consumer is not getting the value addition. That is, I feel, is not a value addition. Now coming to the opportunity in value addition and innovation in dairy industry, I mean, if you see, Amul started long. When 1946, Shri Bhavan Das Patel, we had yesterday his 27th birth anniversary. That was very innovative. Instead of middlemen buying, farmers themselves buying, owning the whole supply chain. Then testing at the farmers mentally level, that was the innovation that time. Then coming out with the buffalo milk based cheese or milk powder, that was innovation. And more, and then getting access to the market by sending milk by rail milk tankers to Calcutta or Delhi in those 50s or 60s, that was innovation. But innovation never stops, value addition never stops. There's always opportunity to do it anywhere. And during COVID, we have realized that innovation pace or innovation speed had accelerated 2 to 3x than what it used to be, because it was a need of our. More than that, everybody understood the benefit of innovation of whole supply chain of. In short, I have already said, so why we should do innovation? You see, we all know, all over world, if one market which has got, I say sky is the limit, is that is the dairy industry. We know today India dairy industry, which is $110 billion, another 10 years it will be more than $200 billion. And organized industry where we all are involved with $30 billion, and will in 10 years it will be $100 billion. You show me any industry of this value. And what are the infrastructure required? We have to add another. Today our organized processing capacity is 90 million liters per day, which will be around 300 million liters. So 210 million liters means we have to invest $130 billion, $13 billion only in the plants, machinery, and the same amount will be required to invest in backward and the forward. Backward, I say milk production, milk procurement, logistic, and similarly in the further, whether for retailing or for the storage sector. Now, coming to the opportunity which I feel which are the challenges for the dairy industry for innovation or supply chain, let us start with the milk procurement. To bring more transparency in the fees, till now we have been testing more on fat. So besides coming out testing machine for fat and SNF together, third is we have to also come out with the affordable testing machines at the village level, which can check adulteration, fat, SNF one go. And if we can do innovate with that testing machine, and I think that technology, but what I want to say is affordable. Today machines are there, but those are not affordable. So because when there are more than 100,000 cooperative milks, so you have to buy 100,000. So you cannot buy of a $500,000 machine. You have to buy $200-300. Similarly, transportation, and that is the one area I think already some steps about. That is the area where also I say that only we have scratched the surface. What is the process now? Earlier we used to transport with the milk cans. Then we started BMC. Then BMC, we are collecting milk with the road milk tanker. But lot of wastage, en route adulteration, and transparency. So now in Gujarat, we have started already. We started with 3-4 tankers. Now 150 we have ordered. Where when the tanker gets the milk from BMC, automatically it will be checked there for the quality and quantity. That quality and quantity will fed in the centralized SAP system, and all the entry, there's no manual entry. Similarly, which tanker has to go to which BMC to collect the milk, that also be decided by the centralized, because otherwise what used to happen is in one route you have to keep some tankers capacity open because you know how much milk will be coming from BMC. So route planning is better. Per liter cost of milk is reduced by 15 to 20%. And also the type of, otherwise you have to bring each society sample separate to the dairy and check it. So that is there. Similarly, in veterinary, we know what are the things. Right from sex semen or the I mean, AI is to be used for veterinary providing service where you don't need to get a call from doctor and tell the doctor everything. Doctor is directed through computer which farmer to reach. All medication is in the computer and whole history of the animal is there. So that's like there. Similarly, processing, I think a lot of veterinarians sitting, they can tell you more about the energy efficiency or but there are two areas where I think in the processing we need a lot of innovation is water uses. I remember that earlier we used to say that dairy water usage should not be more than 2 liters per liter of milk enter. Then it reduced to 1 liter. Now we want it 0. That whatever water you are drawing, you can't draw. So how do you recycle the water which we are using in the dairy evaporating back to the dairy? So the net water uses is 0. Similarly, carbon footprint, everybody is talking, and I think that is the area. Third, we know the energy efficiency with the refrigeration, because Shri Jagmohan is there. The type of water uses, but there is now type of condensing system which has come, waterless. We are using the same water again and again for our dairies. The whatever dryer milk water is dry, the same is used in the condenser, and same is being circulated. Or in the ice silos also. Other biggest, I think, innovation which every company will think is in the market chain, distribution. Earlier, what used to be the factory to the depot to the distributor and the retailer, gone are the days. Now, only 75% is the general trade, then modern trade came, then e-commerce came, and they require different handle. And now you cannot go to the retailer to book orders. It has to be distribution management system where retailer can place order directly on an app, or if you go directly to the distributor, goods will be coming directly. You don't need to visit. You can visit shop only for your promotion, not for any physical work. And similarly, immediately your production planning is based on the whatever butter you have sold yesterday. You can know how the tertiary sale of butter is happening Bandra market or in Mohali market, Chandigarh, and then you can plan production, dispatch, and the storage. Then in innovation in products, because consumers' expectations, taste are changing. Besides coming out a lot of innovative product, one major trend which we have found is consumer is shifting more from long shelf life product to short shelf life or fresh. So we have to see whatever existing product we are selling, how to convert it towards more fresh, whether it's a cheese or paneer or dahi or yogurt or milk. I mean, gone are the days when you can have 1 year shelf life and consume, you can do it. So you need to have production plan here. Or in mithai, mithai now, we have come out with a technology with the 45 days shelf life. So all these khuli mithais, open sweet shops can be converted, and that is thousands of crore rupees market, not less than 10,000 crore rupee market, even if you sell the packed sweets. And the lastly, I think, is the promotion. Gone are the days when, I mean, 80s when I remember we used to plan only production promotion plan using newspaper or the hoardings. Then came the newspaper. Then came the social media and OTT. Now it is extremely difficult to catch today's millennial on the traditional media. So how the build brand? So what is required? Building brand has become extremely difficult from product to product, geography to geography, age group to age group. For millennials, you need different products, availability in the e-commerce, reaching to him through social media, what he or she is watching, and also the right time. Whereas your traditional housewife, you will have to use different media, different geography and everything. So I think all these factors put together, whichever field we all are working, the best innovation can take place in India. Reason is simple. Innovation can happen only where growth is coming, market is there, and also affordable technology and skills are available. India is the right country where all this together available, we have got in organized sector more than $100 billion market. We have got latest AI skilled people. We have got a very lot of other resources and very scattered geography market. So with this, I think we all have to come together, and whichever field we are doing, we should come out with innovation and the value addition for the benefit of the farmers. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sodhi. As you rightly said, there is no end to innovation. We can keep innovating in every field, and a dairy field is one field where you can keep innovating day in, day out. Thank you for your wonderful speech. Now, I would like to request our chief guest, Shri Atul Chaturvedi ji, to give his chief guest address. Mr. Atul Chaturvedi has wide experience working in the government as team leader in power sector, agricultural sector, and he is currently working as Secretary of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India. He was also been a part of team which initiated Incredible India campaign for the country. I welcome Shri Atul Chaturvedi to give his chief guest address.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhir. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, especially my friend Raman Roy, who's I would like to thank for taking this initiative as the regional president for Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. It's a very timely address to the topic. I would also like to say hello to Dr. Bhasin and Mr. Mark Rosman, and obviously my colleagues, Mr. Minesha, Dr. Sodhi, Mr. Rajoria, and others who are, and Manish from Mother Dairy. So all these great stakeholders you have in front of you. So I would try to, in next 10 to 15 minutes, give you a perspective on the government side as far as what are the possibilities of cooperation and coordination with reference to dairy sector, with reference to either US academia, US government, US industry, and the possibilities and opportunities for partnership in this endeavor. First of all, as you all must be knowing, but let me repeat it once more, that Indian dairy industry has been registering a phenomenal growth of around 6.5% or so since 2014, while the world is growing around 1.5% or so. So that's a huge growth we are showing as far as this particular industry is concerned. In fact, in the total agriculture GDP, our contribution is around 1/3 of that. So that's a contribution, and it's the largest and the biggest agriculture crop in terms of the value. So you can imagine the importance of this particular sector. Even the milk production over the last 6 to 7 years has increased by 45%, going up from around 146 million metric ton to almost around 200 million metric ton. And even the per capita consumption is also growing day by day, but it still is much lower than what the major market of the world are consuming. So we still have a lot of way to go as far as this part is concerned. Couple of other statistics I would also like to throw in addition to this is with reference to the dairy processing industry, which has the potential of and has been growing at a compound annual growth rate of around 15%. And there is the value-added market is growing at around compound annual growth rate of around 17%. And the return on investment on these value-added product, which is the IIR, is around 20 to 30%. So that's a kind of a return on the investments are. And the other aspect, which is a huge neglected area, is the chilling market, and especially this the milk aggregator, the chilling milk aggregator. So this can be a great business with reference to installation of bulk milk coolers and reefer vehicle and cold warehousing, where there again a huge possibility in terms of return on investment, which comes to almost around 20% odd. If you see the past history and investment trend, in fact, there are a lot of existing processing facilities operation on the milk front, which are operating at a lower capacity than what they should be. And one of the constraint in that is getting the good quality chilled milk, and that's where there's a huge business opportunity as far as value addition and innovation is concerned. The other aspect is with reference to the whole potential. You know, we worked with the Boston and consultancy group and worked out the whole canvas of the dairy industry a year ago, and we also have basically mapped the potential geographies for investment potential, which is for anyone to see. And we have also defined the specific shelf of projects with the help of, again, with the Boston Consultancy Group. In fact, COVID as a crisis, it's also presenting a big opportunity for dairy sector in view of the huge demand for quality product and huge demand for the immunity enhancer, and both these issues fit very well in the dairy sector. So there is a huge potential which we have to take it as opportunity in this particular crisis. And let me tell you, this demand would continue to increase as we move along. So therefore, and there is also a huge potential as we go forward. You know, there is a robust market potential as we talk. There is a low per capita consumption, as I already mentioned, with compared to the major market of the world. There is a rising per capita income in this country, including the background of the stock market in India, which is continuing its bull run in spite of the COVID crisis. And in fact, when the whole world is facing a downward trend, our stock market and others are continuing in a bull run as we speak. There is increased urbanization, and it's increasing even further. There's an untapped export potential, and there's the emergence of a niche premium segment. So all these are huge possibilities in terms of return on investment and in terms of, and let me also tell you, this is one of the least regulated sector as far as the investments are concerned. And in fact, if the investors are looking for the investment opportunity, India is becoming a preferred investment destination, especially to hedge the risk of over dependency for other destinations. So that's another point to be looked at as far as this aspect is concerned. In fact, the very important point which we need to also consider as we go along is with reference to number of initiatives which we are taking by the government. In fact, one of the major area where there are huge possibilities of cooperation with the US, because the industry and the academia and the research has huge expertise as far as that part is concerned, which is on the whole breed improvement aspect, which is the backbone of the dairy industry. And there are huge possibilities of value addition as far as that part is concerned. In fact, the Indian government is putting in a lot of investment on the breed improvement, and especially with reference to the technology innovation and technology tools which are required for breed improvement, whether it is with reference to the semen production, whether it is with reference to genomics, whether it is with reference to sex-ordered semen, or whether it is with reference to the IVF, which is commonly known as the test tube baby technology. So each one of these areas, there are huge investments happening, and we are doing a very active cooperation with the US agencies in this. In fact, in our bull import program of the government, which is one of our flagship program of the Rashtriya Gokul Mission, which is on the breed improvement, where we are working in close cooperation with Transnova, a company in US, for import of Jersey bulls, and number of orders have been placed to this particular company as we speak. The other area for innovation and cooperation is, as already mentioned by Mineshji, about the genomics and the genomic chip. In fact, NDDB developed that buff chip was with the help of the USDA scientists, and there are huge possibility to further get into this market of genomic chip production on a larger scale so that the whole product becomes affordable for ascertaining the breeding value of the bulls, etc., as we speak, because otherwise we have those very traditional methods which take a lot of time as far as ascertaining the productivity of the bull, etc., or the cows are concerned. So that's another area for massive coordination. Another aspect which is on the innovation front is on the sex sorted semen. In fact, this technology is right now lying only with 2 US companies as we speak, and they are the one who are going across the country of India, and their technology is making huge change as far as this cooperation with the US is concerned. In fact, we have to also see that how we look for the technology transfer as far as this particular technology is concerned. In fact, we are going to put in a lot of investment to increase the demand of the sex sorted semen, and we are getting into the outcome-based delivery in which the assured pregnancy is going to be the yardstick for assisting the farmers and giving them the subsidy for using the sex sorted semen. And that will also give a huge push to the manufacturing of the sex sorted semen as we go along on the breed improvement work. So these are the breed improvement front. The other area which is where we have to look at for coordination and cooperation is with reference to the whole processing value chain. Now, in that, as already mentioned by Mr. Sodhi and others, is the technology on quality control, where there are huge possibility of the collaboration for development of indigenous manufacturing of multifunctional equipment for quality control of milk and milk products, and US expertise could be utilized for even developing the certification system to certify lab equipment, plant machineries, and equipment with provisions of technology upgradation in collaboration with the Bureau of Indian Standards. So that's another huge area of cooperation and coordination on the dairy processing sector is concerned. The other aspect is on the chilling, the bulk milk cooler aspect, where again, as brought out by Amul MD, that there are huge possibilities in terms of investments, and there is huge demand as we speak on the bulk milk cooler. In fact, the chilling aggregator is the way to go as far as the downstream investments on the processing facilities is concerned. And that's where again there is a huge possibilities for cooperation with reference to development of low-cost, environment-friendly refrigerant and low-cost effluent disposal system in collaboration with the US, which will go a long way in reducing the carbon footprint as far as the sustainability aspect is concerned. Solar power, the solar power again on farm mechanization, on bulk milk cooler, compressor, biogas plant agitators, cooperative electrification, etc., at a low cost. There is a huge possibilities of industry, academia collaboration with the US agencies, which could be explored further as far as the solar power at village level availability is concerned. Again, on the application of blockchain technology at the village level for ensuring traceability, huge possibilities there again, because the cloud-based technology and the blockchain and AI technologies and big data analysis, where there are again, US has a lot of expertise which could be used for improving this particular traceability aspect, which is coming in the way of the whole quality product delivery to the domestic and the export market. So that's another area where massive coordination are possible with the US companies and US agencies. The development of low-cost automatic and semi-automatic machinery and technology for various value-added products like Indian sweets, etc., where again, Dr. Sodhi did mention about it. And another area is bio-friendly packaging solutions, where there are again huge possibilities of cooperation. The other aspect, which is again massive potential, is the cattle feed demand, which is approximately around 67 million ton in this country, and feed sector for dairy, let me tell you, is highly under penetrated at only around 11% as of now. So there is a possibility of technical collaboration with key universities for introduction of new forage varieties in India with high biomass yield, as well as good digestibility. That's another area which we can look at in terms of the cooperation with various US industry or US agencies are concerned. Disease aspect, which is another important aspect where there are whole lot of infectious diseases of zoonotic nature, where also issue of the antimicrobial resistance, which is coming a big threat to the whole existence of the biodiversity as such. And that's where US has a lot of expertise, which could again be especially be relevant for ever growing emphasis on One Health, which we are talking about in terms of the existence of this whole ecosystem and biodiversity is concerned. There could be a prospect for collaboration on advanced, rapid, and accurate diagnostic techniques for animal diseases and improved prophylactic vaccines, especially thermostable with longer protection against animal diseases. That's another area which we can look at. And the list goes on like that. Things like collaboration for development of indigenous manufacture of multifunctional equipment for quality control, collaboration with research institutions and development bodies to design novel processing technique for reduction of the contaminant carryover in the milk, such as aflatoxin, etc. So these are some of the things which I can go on. In fact, there are a number of things with reference to innovation, and with my friend Raman there are huge possibilities of the venture capital coming in and investing in a lot of innovation and value addition chain, both in downstream and upstream, as far as this particular aspect is concerned. So therefore, going forward, I think there is a massive possibilities of cooperation as far as the US companies investing in India or US academia and the experts of the government cooperating with us and taking forward this bilateral relationship with the United States, which is the greatest high as we speak. In fact, this is just the right time for this particular workshop and webinar, which is happening, for which again I would like to thank Raman Roy and the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for a nice, wonderful speech, giving the direction in which areas we can cooperate with America and take guidance from them. Thank you. Now I would like to call Mr. Manish Bandlish, Managing Director, CEO of Mother Dairy, New Delhi. Mr. Manish joined as Managing Director in the first week of March. His previous experience in various industries like Maruti, Metro, Cash and Carry, Umang Dairies, etc. Welcome, Mr. Manish.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhir, and a very good afternoon and namaste to our chief guest, Mr. Chaturvedi, Mr. Rossman, guest of honor, other dignitaries present on the panel, and the participants. What I'm going to speak about, I think my earlier panel members have already spoken about the needs of the industry, especially Mr. Sodhi. He's already talked about the innovations which are happening and what is the need of the innovation in the future for various aspects of the supply chain and the products. But I'm going to share a few slides, please bear with me, and in terms of the journey, what Mother Dairy has been through from a consumer angle and also the backend angle. So I'll just try to share a few slides, which I hope it is visible to all of you.
Yeah.
Can you please confirm that?
Yes, it's visible.
Carry
on, Manish.
So just a few slides and basically the innovation and value addition. So we all know that with the white revolution, there's a huge revolution which happened in the country. I don't need to repeat that. There are industry experts who are sitting there, and because of which the overall self-sustainability of the rural employment and the value addition to the farmers and the customers has really revolutionized this industry. From our perspective, future innovation and growth, which are likely to happen in the industry, are likely to happen with 4 or 5 different pillars. Consumption occasions, which keep on coming up with changing environment and new consumers. Increasing consumption of packaged food, which was also earlier mentioned somewhere, that more and more life is being brought into either traditional foods, which is part number 3, or increasing consumptions of from loose, which is also a prevalent practice in India, to more and more packaged foods. Indian consumer, besides being modern, also always looks at value, and hence any innovation in that field will definitely increase and sustain sustainable growth. Needless to say, we focus on quality, safety, and hygiene, which is more and more now prevalent with the onset of the pandemic, that more and more consumers are definitely looking at this aspect when they're choosing any category, brand, or food area. And hence, what is important for all of us to understand is that the industry needs to deliver these 4 pillars. One is focus on innovation, which is basically to innovate around ingredients, innovate for the masses. You cannot be only for a specific set of customers, because India is a huge country. Secondly, one needs to differentiate yourself on quality and safety. This is a go or no-go situation going forward, because regulation is more and more stringent as we go across the industries. The price and value equation in India is absolutely critical, because consumers, as I said earlier, are looking for value. And developing the infrastructure on the back end is, again, linking your backward integration, collaborate with the supply chain, and making investments into cold chain become very, very paramount for this industry to succeed. We will see how Mother Dairy has done some of the work, which is through a sustained effort by our team members here over the last couple of decades. And we have reached some areas where we can proudly say that we have done some work. And I'm sure there's a lot of work to be done in the future. Mother Dairy per se has been the portfolio for Mother Dairy, if I look at, is available for variety of customer needs and expectations. So there are a large number of customers who are there. So for indulgence, for health seekers, for better for you, where people are looking for diet products, for even for now, when I look at the categories which are growing, and we expect this category to grow multifold, is the fortified foods, where probiotic range is going to be making a huge dent in the future. When we look at Mother Dairy specifically, I think one of the things which has helped Mother Dairy is also innovation into getting to a area, region, state, because India is a diverse country, and hence when you create a product specific to a market, it really helps settling down and making yourself more and more relevant to the consumers. Some of the examples which I mentioned here, for example, the Misty Dough, which is a hit product from Mother Dairy, is a classic example of how we have been able to make some dent in the market. Similarly, the Charge and Lassi in North. So needless to say, these are success stories for Mother Dairy in the past. Along with, I think, innovation on products and the consumers, it is a responsibility of this industry to keep on taking initiatives and innovations to make sure that we are sustainable, we are responsible as a corporate citizen. And hence, the reduction in plastic usage and recycling has been a paramount focus for the company, and has to be there for the industry as well. So we have the bulk vending machines, which is the token milk, which was pioneered by Mother Dairy decades ago, and has been successful in reducing use of plastic. And we have, over the period of time, taken so many initiatives to reduce plastic usage in our products. Similarly, recycling of plastic has been a paramount importance for us, and we have complied and are taking more and more initiatives in this regard. Even in dispensing of our products to the consumer, there have been quite a few innovations from the Mother Dairy side, which is the token milk, container on wheels, a small Kam Dhenu, which is a small vending machine to smaller customers who cannot afford to take pouches. Dairy beverage fountains, which were created earlier before the pandemic. These are some of the innovations which have been done locally. As was also earlier mentioned, besides innovations on products, one needs to keep on innovating on sustainability and manufacturing practices. So we have done a lot of work in terms of savings on processing of water, using solar energy, and using RO technologies, which are much more fuel efficient from the perspective. And hence, these kind of innovations are most welcome for the industry. If there is some collaboration, we would really welcome this innovation for our business. Needless to say, this process of innovation will keep on happening as we go along in the future. And Mother Dairy is definitely committed to this journey. And we welcome any future intervention which can come from any collaboration and technological advances. So this is my few words on the topic. Thank you, and over to Mr. Sudhir.
Thank you, Mr. Manish, for giving a nice presentation on the various value-added products and how Mother Dairy is contributing. Thank you. Now, I would like to call upon Mr. Mukul Varshne, Director Corporate Affairs of John Deere. Mr. Mukul is the Director Corporate Affairs, Media and Communication of John Deere, India. He is responsible for leading corporate relations for the organization. He is also a board member, governing council, and executive member on several trade and industry associations, such as USIBC, ASCI, TMA, AICMA. Welcome, Mr. Mukul.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhir, and very good evening to everyone. My greetings to Mr. Atul Chaturvedi, Secretary. Greetings to Mark Crossman and several dignitaries on the. I know we are running out of time, so I'll be very brief, and I just want to share a very short story. When I was a child, early in 70s, Dr. Sam Higginbottom built Agriculture Institute, a very beautiful dairy campus there. And the whole dairy was very systematic, where the fodder is grown, where the animals are grazed or raised, where the milking is done, how the milk is collected, how the veterinary science doctor would treat them. Everything was very systematic. And given today that a lot of small and marginal farmers have 2 or 3 cows, an idea just came to my mind. Can we not create a central dairy in the village where all the cows and animals could be kept together? We have the technology where you can geotag them, where you can electronically tag them. You can have CCTVs where individuals can see what's happening to their cows. In agriculture, we are doing a lot of work in custom hiring. Now, we know that access of technology and access to machinery by individual small and marginal farmers is very difficult. It's expensive to own, expensive to run, and the returns are not as adequate. So if we can create a system, it will lead to rural employment where there could be a person in the same village who has an agriculture background who could probably look at the feed part of the cattle. There could be someone who could manage the cattle in the infrastructure or the barns that we create. There will be central access. I heard Dr. Sodhi said some of the machines are very expensive to be owned by individual farmers. Now, these machines could be deployed in a central place where it could be cost effective because you have more cattle against one machine, or once the technology is deployed, it becomes easy. Better nutrition can be managed, better healthcare can be deployed, rural employment can be a better opportunity there. We also see that when you milk cows in each houses and bring them, there is a challenge of either adulteration or there is a challenge of either contamination. So when you have this central location where all the cows or the buffaloes are housed in a village, you can have minimum risk to all this. The veterinary person can visit there, cows can be checked routinely. So the overall cost of ownership of managing individual sheds at home can probably be reduced, and the cows could, or the buffaloes could be in a central location in a much more hygienic and a safe environment. Now, we as an agriculture industry are more into growing hay, grains, fruits, and vegetables. And I have my two colleagues on the call, which is Amit Bora and Raj Anand. We probably would be willing to work with individual companies to provide that integrated agriculture solutions for dairy industry. How the feed has to be grown, how the green manure with high nutritive value can be brought fresh on a daily basis to the cows, how the whole system can be evolved. We have experience in custom hiring, as I just said. We can bring that knowledge, work with industry, dairy industry experts, how the technology or the whole plan could be deployed in a dairy industry setup, where either the milk aggregators could come and pick from the central location, or these people could be taught to process or micro-process, at least homogenize or pasteurize milk, where the shelf life could increase, and then it could be transported to a nearby dairy industry. So these are some thoughts. And as an industry where we lead the front end, which is the hay and forage, we would be more than willing to work, collaborate, and provide that integrated solution so that the per capita milk produced could improve, the health could improve, and the overall challenges that the dairy industry faces that we were hearing could be minimized, and we could build a brand of a very strong dairy industry in India, that we are known outside the country as we see, or we hear, whether it's in New Zealand or Australia or whatever. We have great companies like Amul and Mother Dairy and several others, but this collaboration could further our efforts and build a brand for India globally as well. With that, I hand it back to Mr. Sudhir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mukul. That was a very nice suggestion of cooperative cattle rearing. Let us see the industry takes a cue out of what you have said. Thank you. I would like to call Dr. Shalini Sehgal, Associate Professor in the Department of Food Technology at Bhaskaracharya College of Applied Sciences. She is the former Director, Quality Assurance and Food Fortification at Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. She has got 23 years of experience in the field of academics and research, along with the administration. Welcome, Dr. Shalini Sehgal.
Thank you, Mr. Sudhir, for your kind words of introduction. Namaskar to one and all. Good afternoon. Mr. Atul Chaturvedi, the chief guest of today's webinar, Mr. Raman Roy, representing ICC, and giving me the opportunity to join this august panel of people who are having lots of expertise, and they've already shared their thoughts by now. I would like to add a few more points to it. When I look at innovation and value addition, the theme as such is very, very pertinent. Why? Because for any industry to be successful and to grow, it needs innovation. Innovation means transforming something with the changing dynamics of the environment and the scenario all around. So when we look at transformation, the term comes in mind is not only being novel, but also adding some value. So dairy industry is growing, we all agree to it. What we need is value addition to it. And when we look at the value addition, this means we are adding something, we're adding an increment which will add to the economics. And innovation is the tool, is the edge that gives to any industry. And today we are going to talk about dairy industry. So the focus is on, you can see that Mr. Sodhi has already spoken about it. It can be on the technology part, it can be on the animal, it can be on the supply chain, because when we look at the innovation for any industry, the canvas is huge. And we have to take into consideration each and every stakeholder. Then only we can talk about innovation in true sense. So my focus today, since I come from a foods background, I'll be talking about innovation in food products or dairy. So in the current situation, the ongoing COVID pandemic, which each one of us is seeing, there is a major shift. The consumer perception. Yes, Food is always about health, and not today, since time immemorials, we have been talking about food and health. But due to the situation, the current situation around us, we see that the food has taken a new connotation and the health is a center stage. Immunity, everybody is talking about immunity. And for example, a very old tradition of having turmeric milk. We are getting the golden milk or the golden latte all across the globe. People are talking about turmeric in a new thing, which for us is a very regular spice found in all the Indian households. When we look at the innovation and when we look at the product, what are we targeting? Why I see milk, like when we look at the dairy industry, most of the product profile is the milk and the common milk products. But the changing scenario, the urban consumer, people are looking for more. Milk, for example, milk having less sweetness, more fiber. Can we give it? Can the dairy deliver it? Yes. There are mechanisms, people are working on it. It is possible. When we are looking at the probiotic, this is one segment which is going to take off. We have to promote milk as a natural performance drink. That's one aspect which can be taken up and which has seriously been looked into. During my stint at FSSAI, I felt we always talk about fortification of milk. But again, an area which is missed is we are not focusing on fortification of milk products. We can take that up also and we can broaden the gamut. So innovation is not needed at one level. We have to take the consumer perception. Innovation is a fast changing equation. So industry has to be in sync with what consumer wants. And that is the reason why the dairy industry has been seeing an incremental growth in India over the last few years. And we are hopeful that it will continue doing that for us. When you look at the products, it's not about the only milk. It is also the ease of consuming food milk products. For example, healthy ice creams, no fuss ice creams. So the packaging also comes into the fold. Like you have to look at packaging, which is easier, which people can use on the move, and it is also environmental friendly. So when you look at the food product, the consumption pattern, you have to look at the healthy angle of it. It should be healthy. It should have some functional properties for the consumer and also the ease of consumption that you can just take it. And so we need to look into various aspects of packaging also. Then somebody was talking about, when we look at the innovation, product segregation is a part of it. And very recently, in fact, I must say, like a few years back, we started talking about the A2 milk. That's also an innovative idea. We've segregated the milk. Milk was always there. Now we are taking in a special connotation. We are talking about A2 milk. When you talk about milk products, other milk products, we always talk about our traditional sweets. Most of them, they're having a high sugar content, and the consumer today is moving away from the dairy consumption, let's say from the dairy products, because they feel they're not healthy. They're full of fat and sweets. So we have to find a way, a mindset, and innovate and find the products which are not only covering the gamut, like said by my earlier speaker, they are good for health. They are also having the functional properties. And when we look at these products, the dairy industry cannot ignore the greenhouse effect, which is going to be there, because projections for 2025, they say that the food requirement will be double. We will be needing double the food. So if you need, and out of that, 80% of the consumers daily are having some part of dairy food in whatever flavor it can be. So dairy industry cannot, let go of the greenhouse effect. So innovation is needed in that field also, that how we are able to lower the carbon. Right? This is why when we look at dairy, not a single person will be able to do justice. Each one has to contribute. The entire supply chain has to be taken into consideration. And I would just like to conclude at a very positive note. Yes, India has the ability to be a global leader. It's the oyster. We can invite people coming in from various countries. There are a lot many opportunities, and we can emerge as a leader in this. Therefore, Apart from innovation, we have to also look into the AI, artificial intelligence, which will help us not only to introduce better products in the market, but also to look into the safety angle, traceability, which is missing, and also increasing or strengthening the testing infrastructure, making sure that the food which is going from our plants is safe for the consumers. So thank you so much. Once again, I would like to say thanks for the opportunity. Stay safe.
Thank you, Dr. Shalini, for the nice insights on the consumer patterns for healthy products. And dairy industry will definitely take up your suggestions for bringing in healthy products to the consumers. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Mark Rossman, who's been patiently waiting in the early hours from America. Mr. Mark Rossman is the agricultural attached to the US Embassy in New Delhi. Before this assignment, Mark worked in the FAS Trade and Foreign Affairs program areas. Over to you, Mark.
Great, thank you, Sudhir. And I wanted to thank all of our distinguished panelists. Thank you to Mr. Roy for your opening remarks, Dr. Sehgal, Mr. Varshney, Dr. Sodhi also provided excellent remarks. Thank you to Secretary Chaturvedi, Mr. Singh, Dr. Vasin, Mr. Manish Banlish, and Mr. Shah for your critical remarks. And I will try to be brief as many of the topics and themes have been already discussed. But I must say I'm privileged to be surrounded by such distinguished speakers and experts. For me, I'm just a farmer at the end of the day. In fact, tomorrow I will be on a tractor in my parents' farm in Iowa and tending my family's livestock. I want to say that I hope that you and your families and everyone on this call remain safe and sound during these critical times. So looking at technologies, I wanted to take a step back and acknowledge kind of what we know about India's status as the world's largest dairy producer and consumer of milk, and the world's largest dairy herd, and with a wide, diverse set of breeds, water buffalo, different genetics. On our side with the USDA, if we assume a normal 2021 monsoon season and with sufficient feed availability, we estimate that India's fluid milk production is forecast to rise from an estimated 195 million metric tons last year to 199 this year. And this is an estimation that our late dairy specialist Amit Adri helped make this, and we think it's going to come to pass more or less, especially with the normal monsoon season. So, with this huge growth dating back to Operation Flood or the White Revolution, we know that dairy cooperatives, the small dairy farmer, have all played a huge role in expanding India's dairy processing and production, and in the private sector as well. In the 1990s, since when the processing sector was delicensed. Yet, with this huge, India being the largest dairy producer, we certainly know that there are challenges. We look at average milk yields that have been discussed. India's diverse dairy yields by breed have ranged anywhere from 1,800 kg to some with 4,200 kg. Some indigenous species can even reach levels of 8,000 or kg in some exotic breeds. Data from our USDA National Agricultural Statistics Service published this spring notes that annual average US dairy production per cow in 2020 averaged 10,800 kg of milk. So, with India's massive herd size, there are also massive opportunities for growth. And then when we talk about technologies, we talk about infrastructure, innovation. These are items that many of our speakers have mentioned, things that are new and on the cutting edge. But you would also say that there are also technologies that are time tested and proven and practical, some that are already in India. On our part with the US Embassy, our focus with the USDA is on trade. And trade is one of those areas that we can make happen some of these solutions. And there isn't one size fits all solution. There isn't one solution to fit any of these issues, but a diverse set of available options. And trade is certainly one of them. Investments is one of them. Research, collaboration. All this can happen, I think, within this made in India mantra, or Atmanirbhar Bharat even. So if you look at trade and if you look at animal feed, and I agree with Mr. Manish Shah, India certainly has challenges with the lack of nutrition and balanced feed rations, contributing, a lack of protein. So the government, Indian government noted last year that India faces, significant deficits in dry fodder, 11% deficiency, green fodder like your alfalfa or wet feeds at 35%, concentrates lacking 45%. And this year certainly it is more challenging with COVID-19. When input costs are extremely high, feed accessibility has become a limiting factor, and there are no many easy solutions for many of these farmers. Certainly at a micro level. Yet, at a macro level, only 4% of India's cropping area is dedicated to fodder cultivation. And that number might not even increase in the short term due to competing uses of agricultural land, food, and other cash crops. Wheat and rice, for instance, also reaching record yields supported by the MSP program. So, compound animal feed use in India, from what USDA estimates, is 8 to 10 million metric tons against India's total dairy feed requirement of around 80 million metric tons. So interrupted feed accessibility is required. Products like dried distillers grains or solubles, alfalfa hay, products that are produced in the United States that can provide some level of support for feed during these lean times. Imports such as these, could, in my opinion, should be considered by the Indian government. And these are things that we've discussed in past trade discussions in 2019 on access for alfalfa hay, let's say. And as another example, there's certainly substantial potential for cross-bred milk yields. We've talked about genetics so far in this discussions, improved breeding practices, improved nutrition and management. India's 2019 livestock census has said that milk cattle population of exotic breeds and crossbreeds has increased by 32% since 2012. And that certainly contributed to overall milk production, yet, certainly there's a way to go. We've talked about genetics also, and bringing in new genetics through AI, other technologies like that. India was once a huge major importer of high quality US bovine semen. In fact, 2016, India imported $2.2 million worth of bovine semen. And since that time, there's been a gradual drop in trade from $500,000 in 2019, certainly it's pre-pandemic, to $76,000 in 2020. All the while, the United States has grown its bovine semen trade 20% to reach $250 million in 2020. All that is to say is that the genetics are out there, and we need to find ways to bridge that and certainly get that in the hands of Indian producers. So there's a lot of challenges, a lot of apparent solutions, but certainly the largest challenge, in my opinion, I think, is the farmers themselves, in the sense that we're dealing with the largest population of farmers in the world. The vast majority of India's dairy farmers are small. We've seen that the emergence and growth of larger scale, anywhere from 25 to 100 cows of commercial dairy operations, itself can be called a structural innovation. Having that many animals have certainly shown with USDA research that improved breeding and feeding practices are happening at that level. However, there's still, while those farmers are certainly utilizing these technologies, there still remains a subset of farmers that we could be focusing on. As I mentioned, the majority of Indian milk production is by smallholders, each with a few milk animals, as many of you know, who may or may not market a share needed for household use. Some have limited access to quality breeding stock or limited resources to produce or purchase optimal nutrition for their animals. So there's gaps between average milk yields and the potential milk yields, those that we see in the larger farms or experiment stations. So a lot can be achieved, before getting, in addition to this cutting edge technology. So I ask, what can we do? Certainly advances that support better community record keeping, identification of superior genetics of animals could help. Improving feeding operations at the farmer level can be problematic sometimes because farmers sometimes have to evaluate the trade-offs between devoting land or financial resources to food or other household needs versus food versus feed certainly. And research by our USDA Economic Research Service has suggested that past behaviors typically with smallholders are to adopt feed rations that are well below what would maximize yield in milk in order to maintain some degree of household income. So while there have been multiple efforts to introduce improved fodder crops, ultimately, at least at a macro level, there's more that needs to be done to incentivize growers. I mentioned genetics previously. Higher yielding crossbred dairy animals are one of the fastest growing segments of herds and get a lot of attention. Water buffalo certainly has been discussed as well. That could be an area of focus as far as production. They have several advantages over crossbreeds and certainly produce more high value butter fat, convert they can convert lower quality feeds more efficiently and more disease resistant. These are certain areas that can provide economic benefits. On cooperation, with the government, not going to go too far into depth, but U.S. and India have a unique and strong relationship in agricultural cooperation, dating back years, back to the Green Revolution. Recently, this past April, the United States and India agreed to the U.S.-India Climate and Clean Energy Agenda 2030. And according to the statement agreed to by both our countries, the partnership aims to mobilize finance, speed clean energy deployment, demonstrate and scale innovative clean technologies need to decarbonize sectors, including industry, transportation, power, and build capacity to measure, manage, and adapt the risks of climate-related impacts. Mr. Manish Shah actually mentioned solar panels, and that's just one example that can be expanded and put to scale. So climate collaboration remains critical, and agriculture will be right there. Certainly agricultural emissions through livestock enteric fermentation, let's say, are critical, both in the United States and in India. So climate and agriculture is an area that I'm very hopeful and looking forward to our close collaboration with. And at the end of the day, going back to trade, India's trade in dairy products, import and export, is marginal compared with the size of the sector, and significant scope for future growth is, suggests that there's a range of possible outcomes. Now, in closing, given India's dairy sector size, if imports of feed ingredients like alfalfa hay, dried distillers grains, or other products from the United States were to be allowed, overnight, it would still take a while before India's dairy production goes up on a yield per cow basis. There's no one-size-fits-all solution, in my opinion. But to help, Indian government policies to promote additional feed and fodders that make it economically profitable while keeping the door open for imported high-quality feed products should be considered and must be considered. As I mentioned, tomorrow I'm actually going to go back to my family's certified organic livestock farm in Iowa to help cultivate their crops and tend the livestock, and maybe that's all what we need to return to the farm. So thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, Mark, for the nice, wonderful speech and areas where we can cooperate with the US. I think the team of eminent speakers will take forward the various suggestions you have made. Thank you. I would like to call upon Dr. G.S. Rajoria, who is the president of Indian Dairy Association with a vast experience of 50 years in research, teaching, training, and consultancy and management functions. And he has developed many new products for the dairy industry, for the value-added products like gulab jamun mix, koa powder, kulfi mix powder, etc. And he is also recipient of prestigious awards from UNDP and CISRO. I welcome Dr. G.S. Rajoria. So you are on mute. Sir, kindly unmute yourself.
Yeah. Are you able to?
Yes, sir. We are able to hear you.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think my friends from dairy industry have touched upon several areas of common interest, both to India and United States. I will touch upon, a few new subjects which may be of interest for this country as well as the United States. Back in 1982, you see, we had a program of UNDP in this country. I visited Cornell University, USA, Ithaca, and Dr. Kurian wanted that we should do some work on crystallization of ghee to be exported to foreign countries. Now we use that differential scanning colorimeter to find out the time and temperature relationship for developing textured ghee for dairy industry. The technology so evolved at Cornell University was given over to Amul and to several other industries in this country. That was a very good example of collaboration between India and the United States. See, we have been working at the National Dairy Research Institute where I spent 29 years of my active service to develop new products which are useful for dairy industry. What is required in the development of these products is scaling up, grading up, and mechanization have to be, given a due consideration. We have, developed a power-operated coa making plant, continuous coa making equipments. Simultaneously, we did work on continuous chana making and paneer making systems. And these were, helpful by using microprocessed automatic paneer press to reduce the time and labor and make the products more hygienic. It was necessary that products like gulab jamun and rasgulla, which have a great market in this country, which are largely catered by halwais, so-called confectioners. We have to develop mechanized kneading and ball forming machines for these two products, rasgulla. Some work has been done by some industry people in this country by importing ball making machine from Germany. But there are issues with regard to the speeds and also with regard to the quality. There is a need for us to enter into some collaboration for developing the mechanized systems for these two important milk sweets of India, that is rasgulla and gulab jamun. Technology for spiced rice pudding was developed. There is a need for us to do more work on firni and paisam using RO concentrated milk, heat stabilized and optimization of product mix. The textile studies on other products are also necessary. We have used in past with the help of NDDB inclined escape substrate heat exchanger for continuous manufacture of koa, rabdi and barfi. Industry has shown great interest in this. What is required is that predation and manufacturing of these units on large scale is necessary. Production of Shrikhand using ultrafiltration milk has been researched at this institute, and mechanized production of barfi, peda, sandesh, and many formulated products have been researched upon. Koa powder is one such example where we can use tray process for village sector processing, use RO concentrated milk for manufacturing coa using continuous systems. Also use roller dryer available wherever they are, and otherwise the technology for using spray dried products was developed. This coa powder is in great demand in Canada, in England, and also in countries where Indians reside. And buffalo milk is one ideal, product which can be used for manufacturing good quality coa powder for providing texture, flavor. We have developed technology for Rasgulla mix powder using ultrafiltration process, and this has to be upgraded. Similarly, we have got a traditional ice cream called kulfi in India, which has been developed using the spray drying method. This product needs again upgradation. Mango milk powder has been developed by us, where we can use spray drying process, and India happens to be one of the major producer of mango. And when we combine mango and milk, we can get very excellent quality, flavored mango milk drink. We have also evolved cream and butter powder for dairy industry, and we fractionated milk fat for specific applications, hard fat and low melting glycerides. In fact, as our demand for milk is growing at 4%, we have about 6.5% growth in milk production. A margin of 2.4 remains with us, and we have to ensure how to use this extra margin. We know industries today have a problem of skim milk powder lying in their stocks because the international prices of skim powder have fallen down drastically. Industry has to look forward for doing extra work, research and R&D work for developing these technologies for ensuring that surplus milk available with the industry is profitably utilized. We have milk beverage market also on the upward traction. This could be many immuno-booster drink mixes, banana powders, flavored milk drinks, and beverages can be made out of cultured products, frozen desserts, ice cream, whey drinks, Greek yogurt with many functional flavors, North American holiday products, soft frozen desserts. All these are the areas where work in collaborative manner can be done. We have many functional foods that will provide additional health beneficial effects beyond their nutritional. They can be fortified with vitamins, minerals, and proteins, added with omega-3 fatty acids, probiotics, and prebiotics. These are all, with altered compositional, and there are, many areas like herbal products which can be added to milk, and for which there are a lot of great scope exists, for the dairy industry to grow. High protein products like yogurt, Greek yogurt, with 20% extra dairy protein are very significant, possibilities for us to develop in the growing dairy market of India. Paneer is one Indian cottage cheese, which is registering a growth rate of about 15%. And cheese, of course, is one such product. The cheese technology is very well known to several countries in the world. Whey, which is available from acid and enzymatic coagulation, can be used for production of carbonated, fermented, alcoholic, and non-fermentative functional beverages. Whey protein concentrate enriched high energy drinks and sport drinks with 20% protein with artificial sweeteners, fruit juice enriched beverages with low pH with added probiotic bacteria are becoming in great demand. technology for tomato juice concentrate added with whey protein concentrate has been perfected and is ready for commercial production. High-speed aseptic filling technologies are available from world market with 30 to 36,000 packets per hour. There are a lot of areas where US has made like, continuous filling machines, which may be of good relevance to our country. Buttermilk happens to be another, byproduct which can be used in different blends for, buttermilk is a byproduct of butter industry. We make raita, we make, many other byproducts, bundi, soaked, baked with jeera, top smoked with burning mustard. And finally, as Sri Atul Chaturvedi has said, there is a lot of scope for both these countries to join hands in the milk, to enhancing the milk producing capacity of animals. Since we are meeting, as Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank the office bearers of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce for inviting the Indian Dairy Association to say a few words on this subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, for giving various byproducts and sweets which can be made out of milk. Thank you. With this, we have come to the end of this wonderful webinar on innovation and value addition in Indian dairy industry. I would like to sum it up in a minute before going to the vote of thanks. We had eminent personalities speak on various topics and challenges and fields of improvement in yield, breed improvement, cattle feed, in chilling, and also on energy saving and environmental refrigerants, and also use of solar power and healthy value-added products, and also a cooperative dairy farming by Mr. Mukul, and also what all products are being contributed in value-added chain by Mr. Manish. And we had Dr. Sodi speak on the various aspects of supply chain and innovations made in the field of cattle and milk traceability. And as rightly said by Dr. Sodi, innovation has no end. So we can keep innovating, and with the growth expected for in the field of dairy for the next decade, there has to be a lot of innovation to improve upon, and also cooperation from USA, from Mark side, in improving breed improvement and other areas of cattle feed, etc. I now wind up this webinar, and now I would propose the vote of thanks. First and foremost, I would like to thank Shri Atul Chaturvedi ji for taking time to attend our seminar on value addition and innovation in Indian dairy industry, and also giving us the direction of areas where we can cooperate with United States of America. And also to the IASAC team comprising of Mr. Raman Roy, Dr. Lalit Pasin, and Mr. Jasmohan Singh for organizing this webinar with the support from industry partner Frick India and Mother Dairy as associated partner. And I also thank the eminent speakers, Mr. Minesh Shisha, Dr. R.S. Sodi, Mr. Manish Pandlish, Mr. Mukul Varshne, Dr. Shalini Sehgal, Mr. Mark Rossman, Dr. G.S. Rajoria, and also to the team of backend team of IACC. Thank you. Thank you for all your patient hearing, and you can give in your feedbacks as well as any of your questions can be addressed to IACC, and they will connect you to the right person.
Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, sir.